Hello, good evening, good morning, namaskar, sat shri akal. On behalf of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, I welcome all of you and I welcome everyone who has joined this beautiful conclave, virtual conclave from all across the world. We are going live in LinkedIn and we are going live in Facebook as well. And it is an honor for me to open this virtual conclave, that is PCC Startup Revolution Conclave 2022. And yes, I welcome all of you. So if we move to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. As you can see that we are talking about unity's strength and how are we united, how we draw the strength in being united is something that we can talk about in the few slides that follow. We can talk about it. We are a non-profit organization headquartered in USA and we were founded in the year 2017. And you can see what we do. We have a vision to facilitate global and local business communities with a network forum wherein we can build new relationships based on mutual reciprocity. And the idea is to create an ecosystem that is more, that's where we draw, the benefits can be drawn at the qualitative level as well as at the quantitative level. Now, our network is committed to build an ecosystem for informative mentorship and advocacy programs, and that can contribute to the overall community development and inclusive growth. Hence, no religion, no politics policy in place, and we practice this on a day-to-day basis. Every day we practice, and not only us, all the members across the world, they practice that. Diversity and inclusion is definitely an aspect that we follow, and we can see that there is a good balance of members from the fraternity that are present today. And if we move to the next slide, now, when I've talked about the qualitative and quantitative values, the mantras are very clear. The capital building, capacity building, and community building. These are the three core principles or values that we really want to create our positioning on. And they are further empowered and given force by commerce, cooperation, community, communications, culture, and creativity. All C's across, and that's where we draw our complete strength across the globe. We also have our charitable arm, which is Punjabi Chamber Foundation, and our youth wing, that is Global Youth Squad. And in the last two COVID wave that hit our country, India, as well as the southern part of the world, South Asian part of the world, big time, Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, Punjabi Chamber of Foundation, they were all geared up and they were all there by providing 100 oxygen concentrators in different pins and different government hospitals of Punjab with the help of the partner with the foundation that executed the entire program. And we also have installed 2 oxygen plants, one in progress, the other has already been done in Manali. And this was done through Rotary International in Manali. Yes. So Global Youth Squad is basically, that's a youth wing wherein we are trying to have all the fraternity, all the young fraternity or population of the fraternity together. And if we can create a legacy for them, that's the idea, that's the objective that PCC is working on. Yeah. At the onset itself, in the second slide, perhaps you might have seen that we are 18 plus strong chapters. These are the geographies. These are the chapters that we are spread across, and we are moving forward, Bangalore being one, Middle East. There are a few more areas, Calgary. There are many geographies that we are still getting, we are already in talks with, and we will be like having more chapters added in this year. That's the projection that we have. And we are, with the chapters, we are present in 5 continents as well. And this is how we try and meet. We do a lot of programs. And the photographs that you are seeing here, that we have shared here, these are the meet and greet that we have done across the globe in different geographies. And believe me, these photographs have just been done in the last 2 months. The activities that we have done in the last 2 months, these are some captures that we have managed to bring to you. Now, the question that is always asked as to what do we get when you become a member, what do we get, what do I get? The question answer is very clear. And I think I'm sure all these chambers, associations, organizations, they'll all talk about giving the network, the discounts, the growth, giving back, visibility, voice, and everything. But we are a global platform. So our members are spread across. And when I'm talking about a network, so network is that robust and it is that transparent and it is that committed that somebody sitting in Toronto, somebody sitting in Mumbai, they are able to do network. They are able to enhance and empower each other through their business relations, through their business interests. Group benefits and discounts that we are talking about, our members are generous and they're committed to the cause, to the community development, the capital building that I have talked about, the capacity building that I have talked about, the community building that I have talked about. That's where our members, they come in with their various services, and these services are all, how should I say, these are like, they have certain discounts, certain services that are exempted for the members. So these benefits have to be given to the members by the members. That's the focus of it. Growth, we can see we have grown from 2017 here till 2022. We have grown. We have grown in numbers. We have grown in our relationships. We have grown in our businesses. We have grown as a community also. And giving back is something that is a very core fundamental with the members of the fraternity, with the chamber, and they give back whenever there was a need. It may be a COVID second wave or first wave, they were there. It could be a cold drive that is going to happen in the month of October in the Western world. So people will be all geared up to help this cold drive for the people who do not have. Visibility is something that we provide. We have our monthly newsletter, we have our social media posts, we have so many weekly posts, there are so many features through which you can get featured, you can get to know each other. So we are all there for you and we are the voice for you. And we also believe that our members are the voices for us. Now, the context for which this particular conclave has been organized is the PCC ESI Hub, PCC Entrepreneurs and Startup Investment Hub, or PCC Entrepreneurs, Startups and Investment Hub, whatever we call it. The ESI Hub is a network that we have already created. This is an ecosystem and interface that we are building between the startups, the investors, and the entrepreneurs, and the mentors that we can bring. So this ecosystem needs a complete a robust and a very transparent and a global platform. I don't think we have any such platform that is globally operating across all geographies, but PCC's endeavor is to create a global platform for the startups as well as the investors. What we have done, we have called for investors and we have received some very interesting investors and they are on board with us. And on the other hand, we have called out for the startups. The startups have also been, they might have found some value in this forum and they've also joined. And in order for us to mobilize this community, what a better way than having this conversation, rolling with such brightest of the brightest panelists, and such a wonderful moderator that we have, Harpreet Randhawa. She's the founder of Inspire. A great friend, I would definitely say, and a mentor to me also. And so a little bit about her. She's the board of director with PCC. She's also the co-chair of Mumbai chapter. As you have seen in my previous slides that we have talked about the various chapters that PCC has. So she is the co-chair of the Mumbai chapter at Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. She's also the global chair for our membership committee. That is a global membership committee that we have, and she's the chair for that as well. A wonderful and a very enriching experience that she brings on board as an entrepreneur, as an educator, as a manager, as a life coach. When I'm saying life coach, she's everywhere. She's coaching the students, parents. Not only that, her realm is extended to the corporate world as well. You can see in the slide. She has been honored with the Udyog Shiksha Puraskar for her contribution, immense contribution to the education sector, because I know the work that she's doing. So that's why I'm just putting a lot of impetus on the education part of it. So that she got in the year 2014, and Innovative Trainer Award was also conferred upon her in the year 2017. The motto that she has is do the right thing when nobody's watching. That's what she is. And that's why we count on you every time, ma'am. I welcome you on board as a moderator for this conclave. And it is indeed an honor and privilege for us to hear you again. And I would request you to join me in welcoming all our panelists today. Param Kalra, he's a member, a very important member of Chandigarh chapter. And he was also the co-chair of Chandigarh chapter. He's founder, I Tap It, Startup Nation. Anytime that we want to do anything in Chandigarh, Param is somebody who extends all his support, his infrastructure, his facility. Come join us, do the meeting. That's how he is. So I welcome you, Param, on board. Yes. About Nimandeep Singh, he comes from Bangalore. He's the founder, Smart Aging and VN Enterprise. He also does a lot of counseling, mentoring, and coaching sessions with IISCs and other institutions, engineering colleges, which is not mentioned here. And you have to hear him to really know about him. We are inspired to have him on board. I welcome you, Nimandeep ji. You have so much to contribute, and I'm sure we will be able to hear from you. Harvinder Matharu is the co-founder of Farmer Story, a very sustainable model that he has created. And as we know that farmers are the backbone of the country that we are residing in India, if I may say. And other than that also, it's a very bone, it's a, what do you call that? A basic, I think I have already backbone I've already shared. So that's the backbone of any economy. And he's, with his Farmer Story, he's just growing and he's going everywhere. And he's also the co-chair of Mumbai chapter and he shares this responsibility with Harpreet Randhawa. And I welcome Harvinder Matharu. You have so much to talk about, and you're such a passionate person when it comes to Farmer Story, the agro, the services that you're providing, the organic, the quality that you are providing to the people. And we would love to hear you. We have with us Mr. Sabi Varaich, so CIO, angel investor. Sabi, we are meeting him for the first time, virtually, of course, but then again, it can be called an in-person, but he's one person who has always supported us whenever we needed any kind of query pertaining to the investors or the meet or the documents that we wanted to do. He was always there. And that's the passion that he brings when he says that, okay, fine, I'm here and I'll join you at any point of time. It's really early morning for him. And I welcome Sabi for this conclave. Thank you so much for joining us. We would also be having Vijay Kohli. He's the co-founder Golden Door, and he's from New York chapter. He's the co-chair of New York as well, New York chapter, and he'll be joining us a little late. And a passionate investor again, and he will talk about himself when he joins in. And unfortunately, Mahesh Chand, CEO, Mindcracker Inc., and founder C #Corner. He could not join because of the global emergency that has occurred, and in his private personal space, there is something that has restricted him to join today for this wonderful conclave. However, with this, I would request Harpreet Randhawa to take this session over. And thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining and accepting our invitation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Rajshri. On behalf of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, I welcome all participants, esteemed panelists here for the first edition of the flagship initiative of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, the Startup Investors and Entrepreneurs Hub that we have, with a focus on bridging the gap between the investors and the startup entrepreneurs. The session actually aims to have an overview into the behind the scenes experience of the startup entrepreneurs, as well as what goes on into the minds of the investors, because they're putting in their hard-earned money or a well-earned money. Also, we shall be focusing on how to get started with a startup in case you have an idea. Also, we shall speak about who all startup entrepreneur can reach out to and how to do it, and what does it take to lay a perfect roadmap when it comes from planning to the funding aspect of a startup. So before we start this session, although we have had the formal introductions, but I would be laying down certain, certain guidelines for all of us present here, that I would be calling out your name with a question, and you could take a couple of seconds and please respond. And in case you do not feel like answering, just put a message to me, or you could say that you would take it on later. It's just fine, because there are certain things, you want to keep it to yourself. So for the startup panelist here, that is Mr. Harvinder Mataru, Nimandeep Singh, Param Kalra. I would want you to take 5 to 6 seconds to think and prepare yourself on your introduction within a span of 30 seconds about your startup idea. My first panelist who would I invite would be Harvinder Matharu, my co-chair Mumbai. Then I would invite Mr. Param and then Mr. Niman. So Sabi, you must have your ears open, because then I'm going to direct your introduction as an investor, an angel investor for these lovely startups, or many more who are going to watch you, right? So you're going to be the last. So I think 5 seconds are over. So Harvinder, over to you. So 30 seconds introduction.
Thank you, APJ. It's a lovely, thank you, Dr. Rajshri as well. So it's so wonderful to be part of the PCC, and this even today especially. So I'm Harvinder Singh Batharu, part of co-founder of Farmer Story. I run this initiative along with my better half. So she's the bigger founder, I'm the smaller co-founder. So we work with communities from across India in making, in helping sustainable food reach the markets, not just in India, globally as well. We've been very fortunate to be part of this sector, I would say, where we interact so closely with the communities who are linked at the ground level, and we help them become much more sustainable in their produce, and become that linkage to not just bring their produce to the market, but also to educate the consumers at the market level. It's been an awesome journey of the past 3 years, and there are many more fireworks ahead.
Fireworks, all right. We'll come to that later. So Param, over to you, 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, PCC, for having me today. Great meeting you all. Hi, my name is Param Kalra. I have a new startup called I Tap It, and this is a smart business card based on NFC technology. So we are trying to make everyone shift from paper business cards to smart business cards, which you just need to tap on smartphones, and your complete business information pops up on that smartphone's browser, and you can just save it with a single click, with all the social media links, the websites, emails, even payment UPI links and everything. So as per our research, we found out that 70% of the cards that are exchanged every year are dumped. So there's no value proposition for, or very low value proposition for people who are using paper business cards. So we're working towards it. We have sold around 1,500 cards as of now, just doing the basic B2C, and we're jumping into B2B right now by solving other features and other backend analytics for the enterprises and B2B companies. Prior to this, I have a co-working space chain called Startup Nation. I've worked with startups very closely in the last 6 years. And the basis of iTapIt is a tech company. It was a service company that we have transferred into a tech company, product company right now. So I have good knowledge of tech and working with startups. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Param. Over to you, Niman.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening to everyone. I have got 21 years of experience, wherein my most of the time has been with the construction, smart homes, and tech parks. But over the period, learning from those 21 years, three elements have come forward in my business growth. And one is that I'm now doing something called Smart Living and Smart Aging City. That's townships and the concepts which is in demand. And after COVID, every NRI wants their family members to be more safe. But in that specifically, we are with Indian Institute of Science, we are developing a product line for fall prevention. Along with that, there's another business which we are doing it for over the period of last 8 years is cognitive assessment for the children. And that project is doing very well for us. So these are the two things which we are focusing on. Looking forward to share how many other experiences of our startups have, or our experiences have helped many other people to grow. And welcome all of you to a Bangalore market, a South market.
Thank you. So, Sabi, you heard these entrepreneurs with a lot of passion. And of course, they have a story, which I will be digging out very soon. If you could give your introduction in 30 seconds so that, we would love to approach you for money.
Absolutely. I have a full-time job. I'm a chief information officer at a local community college here in Oregon. We have about 25,000 students, 3 different campuses. As an angel investor, I've been investing for the last 6 years. I've invested in about 50 startups, involved with few organizations here. One is called TIE Oregon, the Industry Entrepreneurs. Then there is Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. There is Oregon Technology Business Incubation. So involved in there, but also back in India, I'm also involved with India Accelerator. We're trying to create a community here in the United States where we make it easier for folks here in the United States and Canada, Northern America total, to invest in startups in India. So very excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you all very much. So now I have a question for all the startups here, especially Harvinder, Param and Niman. There would have been something that would have motivated you or inspired you to take up entrepreneurship and start something. So if I may ask you that, what was it, Harvinder, that motivated you to be a startup entrepreneur?
I think the more I go back and think, the inspiration or that is more to do with where I come from. So I come from Jamshedpur, Tata Nagar. It's an ISO certified green city. And the amount of work, community development work that Tatas have done there, that always stayed with me all through the growing years. And then the engineering and MBA and the regular rigor of 15, 16 odd years in the corporate life, moving from one city to another, constant travel. There was a point wherein you start, which is midlife crisis typically, when you start asking question that, what are you doing? Where do you want your feet to be? Where do you want your roots to be? And being a Punjabi that we all are, food is something that you very easily connect back with. But when we started looking at this space about 3-4 years back, our association with the communities had been ongoing. In one way or the other, we always kept on working with one community from one part of the country. But when we thought about making this into a business enterprise, it had to, right from its start, it has to be differentiated. It just cannot be a trading business. That's something that we didn't want to do. And every sale or every work that we wanted to do, we wanted it to have an impact at the ground level on the lives of the people. That's very much shaped, from the place that I come from. So, and food communities, having seen the kind of challenges that they went through, they continue to go through in terms of getting their produce to the market, even after growing and putting so much of effort on the field side. We thought it makes more sense from the long-term perspective to build this community focused again, also creating a brand which resonates with the consumers, that this is the most authentic, this is the most, right place to buy your food from, not just for yourself, but your family as well. So there have been many inspiration points as we went along, where I come from, what we saw, the challenges, and where we intend to take this. So I believe we are just starting off in terms of inspiration. There are many more points, stages that will come, which will keep on inspiring us to make this better startup. And we would always want to be a startup and keep, inspiring ourselves, taking inspiration from the ground level, from the market level, to keep on bettering ourselves.
Thank you so much. I come to Param now. Param, yours was a very, a very interesting name that you've given. Tap it or start it, startup, or how it sounds very IT, technical. Now, what instigated you to have a product linked to a technology, and what was it that triggered this thought?
I think I always wanted to create something new. Back in the day, I'll take a moment to take all of us back in the moment when we started with Startup Nation. So at that time, we noticed, we always, took pride being Punjabis. And, I was always curious about why people rush to Bangalore and Pune and those ecosystems, wherein we have everything in Chandigarh. It has a solid tech background, and there are so many IT companies and resources, people, skilled people everywhere. So once we went to Delhi and we saw, a co-working space thriving there, and we saw the concept for the first time, and we got astonished. And we were like, no, this thing is something that sets us really behind these cities, And there was no, I came back and started searching on Google. There was no co-working space in Mohali or Chandigarh or even Panchkula. So I thought, why Chandigarh should lag behind, and why is there nothing of that sort in Chandigarh, where we have a community sense of creating something, and then everyone comes together and creates something or the other, and we become each other's inspiration. And let's try to spark a little of an ecosystem here in the city. So that's how it started, and we got a chance. By God's grace, we got in touch with a very good friend who is no more, but back then he supported us. He gave us his building's basement, and he said, take care of this basement until I come back from USA. And we made use of that basement and converted it into a co-working space. And within 6 months, we were also surprised that people took this concept very nicely, and we were sold out in 6 months, and we started expanding to another floor in the same building. So that's how it started. And somewhere or the other, we had just tasted success out of an experiment. So that became our inspiration. We had failed quite a lot of times in life earlier with little things here and there, but this was a great success for us. So that's how Startup Nation started. Now it's 650
I
plus
think
seater.
It's the failures what makes us.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's a 650 seater plus co-working space in 3 locations in Tri-City. We were actually on 5 locations in Tri-City before COVID hit us. And we kind of sized down in COVID due to physical space being a problem in COVID. And that's how, we got inspired for another product called iTapit. We were in IT services from the last 8 years. And in COVID, we thought, why not create something contactless and digital, which, survives even in COVID. And that's how iTapit came across. And we have a strong team of around 15 people who are all techies. And we thought of creating something around digital business cards. And yes, that was a success. Another experiment. We are still improving it every day, but yes, it's going well so far.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I tap it. Like you have your Axis or any bank, Visa card or a MasterCard. You just put it on that gadget and your money gets swiped, So I think it's a great thing. Lovely idea. Coming to Niman. Niman, your startup says it is smart aging company, that rings bell. Smart and aging. It's very catchy, makes people think about what it would be. So what was it that triggered the thought of keeping the name as Smart Aging company?
Okay, so if I have to begin with, I'll just tell you, I'm a first generation entrepreneur in our Khandan, the whole family, generations. Hardcore farmer background, but dad comes from a defense background. So being always in a KV and defense background. So we've been always seeing culture where you need to live in a community and give back to the community. Now, but as we came out and it was doing our engineering, was very much fascinated about this word called management and chairman and the management teams. So when I joined a company in Singapore called Jurong Town Corporation, I realized that it'll take 20 years for me to be a part of a management team and become a chairman. Means it'll take another 10 more years. So I told my dad within a 1 year of my job that I can't be so lagging behind in my growth. So will I be allowed to do my entrepreneurship? And 20 years back, this was like you're trying to go away from the job, which is more insecurity, right? But this 20 years took up a construction, design, build, and especially I was very much involved with the HNIs, homes, and the corporate offices. But what I felt in that was that in both the cultures of the HNIs and the corporate, what was very different was the management teams and the HNIs are very focused on their health because they are the asset to the company, right? But when it comes to the middle class and the lower middle class, it is being like a elite thing to be part of some clubs, and rest all cannot even afford it. And in the 20 years span period was part of the ISC for smart home technologies of IoT based. Everything was happening in South. So that's the time I realized that I have to be in a space where I can be for the next 30, 40 years easily, right? And what better than being in a smart homes and smart living space. So the concept brought in my 20 years of experience of being in a technology space because I was part of for more than 14 years in the education technology. At the same time, the preventive healthcare space also. So I brought in all my experience of 20 years and finally came to a conclusion that smart living and smart aging is the right way moving forward. And why not create a company around smart aging concept, and which is known as Vivitan. We are yet to bring that brand out as a, it's a Vivitan is, it's more like a Spanish name, so which means life. And in this, we are focusing on not the old people. We are trying to focus on the 50 plus market in the beginning. Reason being that if I can correct you from 50 onwards, okay, where I can bring my services and solutions and the best which is available, right? Because in India, we don't have a preventive culture in healthcare system, right? So I want to bring in what is there in Canada, Italy, most of the well-developed places. So smart living will take care of that, which will take care of your toilets, your air in the house, your lightings and everything. And that will help the family. Within the family, there are people who are 65 and 70. And in the smart aging, I'm focusing in the beginning on fall prevention, which is the second largest reason for the deaths in the world as per the World Health Organization. So people don't die because of bombs, people die more because of fall. And there are many other recurring causes which they go through of the fall, and the family has a lot of pains because of that, hip injuries, so many things. So clubbing those together, and the inspiration in the final movement, like the nailing happened in 2016 when I was in Chandigarh with my auntie, and she in front of me, she was 80, she was giving me tea and I was supposed to board a flight in next 2 hours and she fell down. So that itself was a turning point in my life, and she died after 1 year from there because she was diabetic. But then how did somebody fall when she was just standing? And she didn't even walk, she didn't do anything. So what went wrong? So that was one of the turning points which made me fall. And I'm very blessed that today we have got a tech teams and companies which are supporting us from Poland. We have company from Finland, we have company from Taiwan, and we are very aggressively looking for how to come to the Canadian market because there are a lot of Punjabis, and my own team member, Lavlesh Patel, has reached there 2 years, in the month of November. So looking forward. And along with this, we have got so much of support come from the local community post-COVID. In the COVID time, everybody understood that we need to be more active, and so this concept then finally came into a smart city concept. So I'll be utilizing all my resources and my networks to build a smart city project. And 2 days back, like last week when I was in Punjab, I was told that in Punjab also a lot of people, are paying 45,000 to 50,000 per person to take care of their elderly people. What's happened? That is which we want to say. We are not telling you old or we are not. We are saying be active. Okay, you need to be active because there are active centers, active aging centers in Canada.
So that's right? a smart way of, So that's a smart way of living life. Thank you so much. I've heard these stories. Lovely. Now coming to Savvy, you're an investor, you got money, and there are these people who have stories to tell. They have their motivation and are very, very inspiring because of a reason that they shifted from their normal well-earning jobs to doing something. So my question to you is, do these stories impact or have an effect on an investor when he's sitting and listening to them?
Right. So, one, great stories, absolutely. But you have to understand why investor is there, right? They are there to make money. You might have a great story, but is this an idea or is it something you have executed? People have great ideas. Anybody you can talk to, they will come with great ideas. But what have you executed? Show me that product, right? What's your management team looks like? Are you a good listener? I had an experience with a founder who wouldn't listen. He was so set in like, I know everything. Yes, absolutely, you know everything. There you go. You go on your way. That doesn't meet my criteria, right? So absolutely, stories make, that's so when I'm looking at a pitch, right? Somebody, founder is showing me a pitch. It always needs to start with that story, that inspiring story. What made them to start their startup, right? So that makes a huge impact. But that's not the only one factor. There are 10 other factors that you need to sharpen your skill on and present those things. Your data, your finances, how big the market is, what's your exit strategy. So there are a number of those factors which I and other investors look at when we're making that decision whether we're going to move forward to the next step or just going to say bye-bye from here, or give some coaching and mentoring saying, hey, you are lacking in this thing, why don't you work on these things and come back again, and we'll have another chat.
Sabi, from here, there's one thing that triggers is that startups generally would not have worked in that space. It's just an idea and they're bringing it on ground for implementation. They don't have money. They would have, got it from somewhere just to put things in place. But then to what as an investor you are asking is, show me the data, show me something what you worked, what are the things that you've, revenues that you've earned, probably, I don't know. But then how does a startup impress you with the numbers, because there's nothing on ground. It's an idea and the team.
Right. So, then if you don't have the numbers, I want to look at, okay, how big the market is and what your plan is, right? That is a key factor in saying, okay, how are you going to capture that market? Is it, what's the competitive market looks like? Is it a very unique idea, or are you trying to, create a product in a very crowded space? Right, that makes a huge difference. So those are some of the key factors. Another piece is, do you have any intellectual property behind it? Right, you are bringing it in here. How about some competitor who can come in and copy that idea very quickly? You're going to go out of market pretty quickly. So what is going to create those kind of barriers for anybody else to do that, right? So at the end of the day, investor is there to make money, and also help and coach and mentor so that they can make money. If it's a great, I will say, what I'm gonna say, if it's a great idea, it's gonna help the community, but also make money. That's my key thing in there. Let's go and let's have that conversation and let's see how we can figure out. Right? If you don't have the money, let me make some contacts and see who can help you.
Super. That also, correct me if I'm wrong. So in a nutshell, what you're saying is it should be a great marketing plan with a specified target audience, right?
Absolutely. And, you should be very clear about what your strengths and weaknesses are. A great website is not a great marketing plan. I have seen so many investors come in saying, hey, sir, I have this great website. I have a great social media presence. I was like, okay, what's your marketing strategic plan? Sir, what is that, right? So you need to be if you don't have that, be honest about it and say, you know what, that's our weakness. We need to fill that gap. Be honest, right? Because when I am investing in a company, I am looking for that trust with that founder, right? Be honest, be transparent, and say, if I don't have it, I don't have it.
Yeah. After listening to Sabi, I think the investors come on very hard on these startups. Now my question to Param, yours is a product which can just tap it and people can feel it. It's not an experience. So when you would have pitched it to an investor, or you would have asked from a crowdfunding kind of stuff, if you could share your first experience where probably you would have not got the money that you desired. So a failure, I would love to hear from you.
Okay, not an iTapit, because iTapit, we've just started to look for funds, and we've just enrolled in 500 Global's Japanese program, and we are going through the program right now and looking for funds right now. But in Startup Nation, yes, there have been a lot of failures, because we are like the Tatas of India. We made an Indica car back then, and we tried to improve it every day. And today we are, somewhere at a point where Tatas have, they make Jaguars, they make Harriers, and very fine technology. So we've completely lived that timeline like Tatas. So we've done a lot of mistakes. We started very low, and today we are the biggest co-working group in the region, and most of the startups, they love to work with us and work from our co-working spaces. So we've seen that timeline. Initial stages, I think there have been a lot of failures with investors. First couple of years, we actually took a couple of years to figure out what is the exact stage we need funds on, because this is a capital intensive business we are in, and every investor wanted to see good numbers behind it. And the city was very it was a niche city for the concept that we had. So there was not a very good concept validation at that point. So we used to sell the concept and then the product. So we've seen that timeline, couple of years, yes. Then, as we moved on, then we started getting investors and started getting interest from investors. But I'll tell you, till date, in Startup Nation, we haven't got any major investor. Then we kind of figured out and, understood the model, and kind of made kind of differentiated in the model itself, that how we can make it a less capital intensive business and move forward. So we went with the franchisee partnerships and then moved that way. So initially, I think Sabi is very right when he says, numbers do matter. And now we feel that now we tell to other startups that how does it all matter, and how to take care of those numbers initially, and how to pitch to an investor. So I think it's very right, whatever Sabi is mentioning around startups.
Super. So what is desired is the flexibility into your business plan. Coming to Harvinder, yours is a concept which deals with people on a very, very backward backgrounds and a very humble background. But farmers in India are pretty rich when it comes to Punjab. So you have gained an investment. You've been very lucky in getting it, but I see must have been a journey. So any one failure which put you down and you said, no, I want to go back where I was, let it be. Let it be a good dream and I'll live with it.
The way we've treated it is there are no failures, there are all learnings. What you don't get, what you want, what you get is actually learnings. So that's one of the things that I mentioned, that there have been many points where we keep on getting inspired, and failures are one of the ways to keep getting inspired. One of the points that you did mention, that how to impress an investor. One doesn't need to impress an investor, one needs to simply make sense. Even during the COVID times, we went through a lot of challenges. One of the things that we very strongly stood by, we never backed out from supporting the communities. Right, we took that opportunity, took that opportunity of the downtime to ensure that we improve the quality of our products. One of the things that we do very uniquely, I would say, is we do gifting baskets, sustainable gifting baskets, which are being picked up by large corporates, not just in India, globally as well. They are made with grass by the tribal self-help groups of Orissa and Jharkhand. And then we pack some of the organic products into this and it goes out. In fact, one of the visa processing company, the largest visa processing company in the world, send out our baskets to all its embassy people all across the world. That was a huge validation of the kind of work and the trust that we've built. One of the funny incidences, I would say, again, a learning, while we were trying to reach out to, and we've been a bit choosy in terms of people that we want to work with. Money or no money, if you waver from the destination and the enjoying the journey, then you'll definitely not reach where you want to be. So we want to enjoy this journey, and we want to get right set of people on board, like-minded people on board. It's not just about the dumb money. So one of the family offices we were speaking to, this was from Bahrain, and in fact, one of the founders in that team got so excited that they started sharing the plan where they want to take this farmer story towards, and we really took a step back, saying that, oh, this is not something that we want to do, irrespective of the amount of money that we are looking to raise. We are good to bootstrap, and we've always been very frugal, very bootstrapped in the way we approach. Very small team, and we've not spent a single money on marketing or branding. Everything is in-house. I have designed the website on Shopify. I do my deliveries. There are many things that between me, my wife, and one of the person that we employ at our store, we cater to all the calls that we get from the customers, the B2B partnerships, the corporate presentations. In fact, we have one event coming up in Lonavala. Me and my wife, we both are going to be there where we are not required, because that gives us an opportunity to reach out to the people, have a direct conversation with the people, understand their challenges, and improve it firsthand, rather than trying to go through the tedious journey of getting the feedback from your people who might or might not be able to translate that with a similar set of passion. So we've been very frugal in that ways. And once, when this investor started taking the direction that we were very uncomfortable with, we actually took a step back and said, hey, we don't need the money. We definitely will take inputs. And there have been few more sets of instances like this. But a big learning for us has been that stick to your roots. You cannot just pull out an organization from where it's growing and growing well. We've kind of doubled, gone twice, thrice in terms of a revenue year on year. And we are very happy with that. We don't want to compromise on certain aspects of what ethics stand for, and just to from the perspective of raising money. So there have been many funny incidences, many learning incidences, none failures as such, I would say.
That's such a positive way of looking at things, but I can imagine when you say this, definitely there would have been, that's very nice of you to have termed it as learnings. Yeah. That's fine. So coming to you, Niman, what you told us was while before you were boarding, your aunt fell down, and this is what happened. An unfortunate incident which triggered this thought of bringing out your startup. Now, my question to you is that when you put this thought across to anybody who is part of your team now, was there somebody who said, no, it would not work? Yes or no?
Honestly, this was touching everybody's story, because someone in the house has fallen, head injuries, died, spinal cord problem, diabetic muscle loss. So many things. Every house has this problem. And this is what made me to bring on board the people from Philips, the health. There was a vice president, Mr. Shriram. He died due to COVID recently, but then he was there with me for the last 4 years. Like that, I kept on wherever I went. And I'm a hardcore into design and build of houses and properties or tech parks, right? So, but when it came to health, the biggest challenge for me was to tell the world that a civil engineer or an engineering graduate also can be a medical or company owner. Except there's a Medtronic, there's a company which is into diagnostic, which is there, run by a civil engineer. But then the reason I went to Indian Institute of Science was for this reason, that in ISC, they promote engineering and medical together, right? So they have a very strong teams which are available, and advisory team which are available, and that helped us to understand where in fall prevention we can make you to prevent and support you in terms of your assessing. And the moment I do assessing, that space is completely with technology. So that helped me to bring in my another friend circles, because 21 years has given me a lot of good network of friends and well-wishers.
Yes.
And that has made me, most of the people, like Wipro is willing to give us, and they are everything there. But it so happened that
I'm sure,
in
Niman,
COVID, you know.
Niman, I'll just stop you here. I know there would be people supporting you. My question was that, has anybody put you down saying it would not work?
No, and this is the only storyline I think which has never been where it cannot happen. What they have told in Institute of Science Management when I went for incubation space, they said, Mr. Singh, you need to be minimum 3 years, then only the investors put money. Okay. And my own building has got an investor who's staying, and he also said, Mr. Singh, then I said, look, I don't need your money. Right? I'm not here to ask you money, because my business itself is such that everybody wants this problem to be solved. Either you pay to a hospital or you pay to me. But what I want is that if you can relate to me, tell me on which way I can take it to a more organized platform, right? Seamless and transparent, because this is the only thing which is not seamless and transparent. There are solutions, but very, very unorganized, you're fully cluttered. So we're trying to do that, and I'm fortunate that great institutions and hospitals have come forward to support us. Canada is what we recently went, and it was so bad that fall itself, the government of Canada has not given a priority. So when my own team member went there, he said, Mr. Singh, there's a great opportunity there, right? So I look forward, because this learning of startup to me is that we are not here to earn money, because whatever our needs were got, I think we have done it. Now we are here to attract the money. And how do you attract the money? Accordingly, the investors, the angel investors, the HNIs worldwide are going to come forward to support, because it is their story too. It is their story too. Someone in their house has got a health issue.
From here, I'll take. Super. I'll now go to Sabi. But before that, I would like to welcome Vijar Kohli, who is an investor. Welcome, Vijar. We got to know that you would be joining in late. But then I would be directing some questions to you from the investor's perspective. So Sabi and you could go hand in hand. But then I would be calling out, All right. Just to bring myself back to Sabi. Sabi, we've heard they've been very humble, all three of them, saying it was a learning. My idea was a need, so nobody refused me. And Param said, no, I just shifted gears and I completely changed the whole perspective. I don't need money. I will change the business plan. But from the investor point of view, you must have heard a lot of pitches coming your way. So any 3 or 4 things that you think which would make the investor say, no, boy, this is not where I would want to put my money. It's dangerous. Or you would negotiate to a lower amount.
So there are many factors, right? When we're doing a due diligence, we have a strict criteria. We look at about 12 different factors before making a decision on that. And if anybody's interested, I'll be happy to share that checklist with you guys. The basic thing is for an investor, I have seen folks who do it as a hobby. Right, they have a full-time job and this is their part-time gig. Okay, that's a first no right there for me. Right, are you totally in? Right, what have you invested personally in there? So that is the one criteria which I look at. How strong is the management team? Right, do they even have a management team? Absolutely. In this, or are they ready to learn? Is that founder a learner? Like Harvinder said, right? I am doing all that. That's exciting, right? He's open and honest about it, rather than somebody saying, you know what, I will hire, a marketing team, but you don't even have the money to, to do some basic things. What's your plan in that, right? So that's another piece in there. I will also, what Harvinder said, don't try to impress the investors. I had a experience where a founder came in and did the pitch. The idea was super great. And I said, okay, let's go and meet you. So I went to his office. And then when I went to his office, he had all these shiny things, big, big TVs, a 60-inch TV, uh, shiny office, couches, and everything. And I was like, do you have a product? And during the pitch, he said he is an MVP. I was like, show me a demo of that. Nothing. He was just trying to make it look so fancy. And that lost my trust right there and there. So once you lose that trust, you're done, basically. It's like, no, that's not going to go. Another piece which I look at is, if I don't have expertise in something, I'm going to say no to that. I want to be respectful of somebody's time and say, you know what, I have a background in technology. I don't understand healthcare. Sorry, I won't be able to provide you any guidance or support, and I'm not going to invest in that, right? Other pieces are, if there is a founder comes in and said, hey, my market segment is for public sector. Great. I'm not going to invest in that, because public sector here in United States, the cycle is to get in is 6 months to 1 year to 2 years, and you don't even know about that. It's not like your idea is bad. Idea may be great, but that's not what aligns where I want to go. So those are the few things, Harpreet, which comes to my mind, when I'm looking at that founder.
Yes. Those are great points that you brought out for all of us, actually, who are startups. Vijay, your views on what would put you down as an investor if a startup comes to you and has his ask?
Hey guys, Vijay, thanks for having me. So you're talking about what would I reject?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a cash flow income guy. So I always focus on companies that are producing customer sales. So straight off the bat, if someone doesn't have a validation from an external market, meaning the customer is buying, someone's putting money down to validate the exchange, it's hard for me to figure out what the demand is for the market. So I stay away from anything that's very, either like biotech, something that's like losing money for many years. They're very specific type of investors that follow through on those type of ideas. But I look for the customer first, and then I work backwards. So if a company owner, executive team,
you brought out the concept of validation. Now here I would like to ask you a question that when a business plan is being made, there are these numbers, right? Those could be as per the market. So, you have your target audiences, how many consumers you build up over a period of 3 to 5 years. Now, those could be validated through surveys online, but then do you give accreditation, or do you give, importance to validations by agencies like KPMG or PwC or any of these kinds of agencies?
No, I discount when I see any consultants involved. And I always look for the customer first. So if I can't see sales being made from the customer, I don't need to really understand. If I don't see a survey responses from the customer, I don't really need to understand what KPMG or McKinsey are saying. It's pretty easy. There's nothing more pure than having a transaction. So, and it doesn't matter what a third party is saying, they're all loopholes. So it's easy to fib or make up those numbers, falsify them in any form.
All right. Sabi, coming to you with this, your views on getting it stamped.
Could you repeat, Harpreet? You were breaking up a little bit, so okay. I didn't get the full question.
All right. So my question was that would a startup require a go-ahead or a stamp or a validation from agencies like KPMG, McKinsey, or PwC to get that money out of an investor?
I don't think so. I will agree with Vijay on that. What I see is, who's your customer, and are they returning customer or are they losing, right? That's a big validation. If the customer is there, they give you, hey, I will give you this business. Can you do a proof of concept? I recently invested in a company back in India. They got, it's called Lloyd. So they had a product, and which got, about 2,000 customers. And the customer went back after successfully delivering that product and saying, okay, now I want to give you an order of 10 lakh, right? Can you validate? That's a great journey because I see that support behind that product and where it's going to grow. So that's the kind of validation I'm looking for. KPMG, yeah, great. Looks, again, I said, that looks very shiny. As an investor, I need to make sure that I understand what's shiny and what's the real thing.
Okay. That's a perspective which all startups need to look, because going to KPMG and agent third party, it costs money. So if I have that money to shell out, then why do I need an investor, right? Is that the right way to think, Sabby Vijar?
No, I would, it's not about actual money. It's about,
okay.
It's about improving product or increasing sales, right? And hiring a third-party consultant doesn't do either.
Yeah.
So if you can't improve the product or increase sales, the customer, where does KPMG fit in a situation like that?
Right.
Yeah, and also, it's also about the mindset of that founder, right? So it tells you, what are they thinking, right? Where their focus should be. Instead of focusing on the real stuff, they're focusing on the shiny thing. So that tells me, okay, you probably need some coaching and mentoring here to shift your mindset and focus on the important things.
Super. I'll come to Vijar and Sabby again with a question from the startup point of view. Harvind Mutharu mentioned that, he from the corporate, he shifted to doing his own startup, and it's been an organic growth for, I think, all of us sitting here, as startups. It's not been an overnight we became a unicorn or billion-dollar company. We're still into the process of startup, and that's what all of us are saying. I will always remain a startup. So my question to you is that the youngsters, pardon me, unicorn startup. All right, super. That's very important. Super. So Sabby and Viraj, a question to you, that many youngsters these days are not doing that journey. They have an idea, they go, they pitch, and they get the money. How, as an investor, do you see that? Are they going to be there for a longer duration of time? Or are they just going to take money, make money, sell it off and go back? You get your exit and you're off. So it's just a business transaction or economics working here.
Is this for me, or is it Harvinder?
Yeah, you can take it first, and then Sabby could take it.
Okay. What's the actual question? So what are you asking about the economics?
Yes. So what I said was that the youngsters come in with an idea, they pitch their idea, it's very nice, they get the money, they have their 5-year plan, the investor has his exit plan, they make money, they move out. The customers who were the target audience, who got them that money, experience their product or the services, and now they are with nothing left. So
I don't know if they're not left with anything, but usually what happens is an exit is acquired by a larger company, so the customers get transitioned to like a Fortune 5,000 business or something, or the company gets shut down. If it's a successful exit, then there's some form, if the company has grown beyond its $5 million stage, it's 50 million, so it's a big business. And there's a liquidation or recapitalization or some type of liquidity exit, or it gets acquired and a bigger company takes over the customer service and the product and the whole life cycle. So I don't think customers are that worried. There's going to be a change in the quality. Maybe it'll get better or it'll get worse. That's different on each company. But the reality is most startups don't have an exit, and most startups are poor investments. So they usually don't even get to that stage. So, but the ones that get there, there's some type of life cycle they have to reach, and everybody's different.
Right. Thank you. Sabby, your views on it.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm investing in a startup, I'm looking at what's your exit strategy. They should be part of their pitch deck. What if the founder doesn't have a vision where they want to go? Absolutely. Most of these startups fail. The rate is, anywhere from 40 to 50 to 60% of those startups fail. And the reasons for that is because they don't understand the market. Sometimes they don't have the ability to scale up, right? So you have to scale up and being acquired by or do a IPO, whatever works for you. But you definitely need an exit strategy. So for youngster, yes, if you got the money and if you're investing it wisely in the right things and you're exiting, great. Nothing bad in that. The investor gets their money back and then they use that money to invest in more startups, right? So it's a continuous cycle.
These days, all startups, as entrepreneurs, we watch these series which is going on in India, which is about the Shark Tank. They come, they pitch, which is very exciting, and it seems that you go in front of the investor, you pitch and you get the money. Is it that simple? Vijar and Savvy.
So I will tell you, if I have 10 pitches being pitched, maybe one will get some kind of a due diligence. Where due diligence is the next step where we go and validate that particular company, that product, that founder, and then it goes to the next step and say, okay, we did our due diligence. Are we going to invest and how much we're going to invest? So yeah, don't go by those shiny Shark Tank India and everything else. That's creating a lot of hype, which is good because, India has a lot of talent. They need that. They need that support. They need that channel to come up. But don't just go by hype and just start investing in any startup or any pitch you receive. So it's very important for those investors because you're going to lose your money pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I would say that the number of startups they probably look at to go on is probably 1,000 to 1. So the ones that are getting approved, there's some variation of why it's a good product. They have good story. Maybe they're good presenters. It doesn't matter, but it's not a really good reason for why it's a good investment. They don't have to approve every good investment, but it's not the same format of what's happening in the real world. But it helps viewers understand the thought process of what questions to ask or what questions they should expect when they're in a pitch.
Niman, I'll come to you for the next question after hearing Savvy and Viraj. The due diligence part of it, you are in the health sector and you're providing your services, which is quite very, very, I would say, niche when it comes to your venture. How did you get the money and how did you validate or went through the process of due diligence with your investors?
Oh, that's a very long story because it has almost taken minimum 3 years for me to come to a stage being a...
I would request you to make it very short because I have a couple of questions for Param and Harvinder as well.
Yes, I'm just trying to say this, that it has taken 3 years to actually come to a stage to get self-validated, first of all, not the market validation, because I am putting my 21 years of hardcore money and my time, the wealth which I have created into something which I am going to invest my next 25, 30 years into it, at least till I live, right? So self-validation was where I went along and met the people individually, right? From every sector of what was needed to set up this business. Then came the stage where now the team was needed. Fortunately, since this story got related to every household or every person I met, I was very fortunate to get the right people on board. Thirdly is market was ready, but COVID time, it has really become 100% validated by the hospitals itself or the people, because diabetic patients, many of the people could not walk. So that there was a need for something to be more active. And now the schools are also asking for it. So our associates from Finland and Poland and we are Portugal and all that, those companies were very good enough in this because they have a very their product lines are patented products, and we are collaborating with them with the Ministry of Science to create more local product because it is costing a bomb for us to bring that product line. 40% duty for such product line. If I make it here, it's going to be just like 18% GST, right? So this is where a very tough journey, but I'm sure that the market is going to be there because government has clearly put a guideline for this for the senior citizens. And also they have put a guideline that the insurance is going to be important. So the moment insurance is going to be important, the preventive healthcare comes into the picture. That's what the West is for, right? So there was always that factor which was missing, and this budget, everything has got streamlined. So I foresee a great opportunity. And there's a worldwide need. Okay, Italy, we saw this COVID people dying, single people living alone and they were dying and military people picking it up, their bodies. That's a reality. What if they were active? Like, what if they're active? So who was checking them? Just because they're a developed nation doesn't mean that they don't have a poverty or they don't have a loneliness. So in Florida itself, Shantiniketan resort, housing is there where he has told that I have got 1,000 villas being built, but I have got 1 lakh expats looking for such kind of an opportunity to be given to them. So this is a huge thing, but yes, I fully agree with Mr. Sabi that validation and what is needed, and some of the investors we meet, we finally think that it was a waste of time because they never understand healthcare, right? Because he was into a different domain. So it's important that you should know that you are valuing the time of the investors more than your time also, because go to those people who know what you are looking for. So you save that time, and time is everything in terms of investment. There's nothing about even $1 billion in my company is less only, but the time and the launching and execution, I think that's more important. And what I want to also tell you is one small thing is the definition of pitch, which the sound of a quality governed by the rate of vibration producing it. That is something which if these youngsters understands, because at least we have got some experiences of business for last 21 years, different clients being prime, but youngsters don't have the vibration at all. They just want to have 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, accept, because in engineering college, they want to do it. They just want to become rich. They are not at all interested in 100-year-old company. They don't want to do anything for the next generation. They want to become rich. And that is why they want to burn the money of investors, but they have not understood how the investors work. Finally, what they do is that they say, these investors are not a great people. Let me take Mamaji's money or uncle's money, and they burn their money. And because they know that they don't have to say anything to them. And that way, we are pretty clear and fortunate that we have got the right people.
I like Mamaji's money. All right. So I think that, Harvinder, coming to you, because I have a point listed out, which I'm going to put it down after this. After hearing you, as to how did you went through this process, because you recently got some investment, I read it. So yeah. How was due diligence process with you and your experience?
So one thing that all startups, or rather I have learned, there are various startups and with their own perspectives. The way we've functioned is be ready in terms of your numbers all the time, not for somebody else, but for your own business clarity. If I don't know what kind of business I'm doing in a week, in a month, in a quarter, then I'm not worth raising the money. And we've been lucky on both the sides. In terms of customer validation, we did a good work at the ground level, and one customer led to another. On the investor side, we've been lucky that people have reached out to us and shown interest, right? And that's the way we would want to function. Yes, scaling up, we do have plans to raise more funds, etc. But as basic as, are you filing your GSTs every month, right? There is no investor. You don't need any investor to come and tell you that you need to keep your paperwork in place, right? Do you know how many customers you've added in a month? You don't need an investor to tell you that. So validation of your own self, your own work ethics, your own personal principles that you need to imbibe day in and day out. That is something that will not just keep your investor ready, that will keep you ready for the years and decades to come.
Super. Param, coming to you with the due diligence, you actually changed gears. You went in for investment and you backed out. You said, this is not what I want. I will rework my business plan. So what put you off?
Okay, so I think a kind of similar thing happened with us in Startup Nation. We were not impressed by the kind of deal that we were thrown at by certain investors. So that actually, kind of pulled us off that deal, and we thought, why not go into some kind of a franchisee arrangement wherein we can find landlords, we can find people who already have a setup, who have capital invested, and they don't know how to, get into this space, and we'll help them out, and we'll do the operations. We'll run the show for them. So that was one point, and it's been a couple of similar instances that we've refused investments around Startup Nation, and the reason was same. Even I have an experience of an investment opportunity wherein investors were thinking of us as a distressed sale, because we were distressed investment, because we were actually, the timing was a bit wrong. It was a time when COVID has just hit, and we had just got into a deal with a landlord who had 15,000 square feet of space, and we wanted to get that space and have a new co-working space there in 15,000 square feet of area. And we wanted to get an investor on board for that purpose, but timing was wrong, and it was COVID, and it was being looked at as a distressed investment, not realizing that a couple of months this wave will be gone. There will be another wave, and we'll still not be hurt as co-working spaces, because luckily there has been a lot of interest by large companies, service companies and consultant companies, even one medical billing company who actually boomed during COVID times. So we had quite a lot of strong clients who helped us to get back on track and everything. But what we realized was, if you go in the market underprepared and the times are not right, I think you can be taken as a distressed sale for sure. But from then on, we tweaked a bit, and we thought, okay, this is what we are going to do for the next couple of years, and then we'll plan our expansion based on the pan-India approach, the pan-India model that we already have in other tier 2 cities of expansion.
Great. Sabi and Vijay, this question is for you after hearing these entrepreneurs. Do the investors show interest in giving out debt or taking a stake or an equity into the idea? Vijay, first to you.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what part of the capital stack you are, debt is very common. Actually, most startup investments are convertible debt or convertible notes, and they convert into equity. So yeah, I've seen it more often than equity investments.
Right. Sabi?
It also depends on the startup, right? What are they seeking? Are they seeking debt? Or are they interested in equity? I will be more interested, what is their cash flow looks like? Debt is basically you're getting the money, then you have to return. Absolutely. That's more favorable to any founder than for an investor. Myself, I'm more interested in, hey, how can I get some equity in the market? So I have a stake in your company, right? So as an investor, if I have equity, I have an intent to make you more successful and give you that coaching and give you that mentoring and provide you a little bit more support in there. But, depending on a situation, yes, convertible notes, safe, those are all in the market, and, equity is always very lucrative for me personally.
Okay, so Vijay and Sabi, if at all, these three startups sitting here, they would seek your investment opportunity. Each one has an idea. Each one is doing great in their space. If at all the negotiations happen and you plan to invest in either of them, would you be looking into the operations? Would you be looking into the yearly, how the company is doing, because you've got a stake in it? Would there be the administrative role also being done by you guys? Because your money is there and you have a stake, 10%, 20%, 50%.
Yeah, I can go first in that. First of all, if I'm investing a huge amount of money, let's say 10-20% stake in the market, then I will definitely seek a seat on the board, right? making sure what are their day-to-day operations, what is going on. And because initially it's again, I always start with trust, right? It takes time to build that trust. It's going to take some time to understand the personality. It's going to time to take to understand the mindset of that founder or that management team, and making sure that they are going in the right direction. If they start going in the right direction, absolutely, then you feel a little bit more comfortable to take a back seat, or being only asked where they need your help, saying, hey, I need funding, can you help me make those connections with VCs? Hey, I need some help in this, do you know anyone who can help with that? So that then depending on a situation to situation, it's a more relationship, it's more uh, depending on the need, what is needed basically.
Viraj.
Yeah, so I'm very due diligence oriented. I spend a lot of time looking into either the books or how the operations are built, really to identify bottlenecks, to see, money only solves some problems, but it amplifies others. So to understand where those speed bumps are, that's why I do due diligence. And then obviously you have to figure out what the team's doing. I don't know everyone else's, the startup scenario in this room, but from my own background, I do a lot of controlled buyouts. So I'm taking a majority position in these investments. So I definitely have to make sure that they're very sturdy. And then I'm not risking too much equity that I'm going to make my money back type of scenario.
Right. Coming to the startup entrepreneurs here, do you see, it's a very direct question, so it's either yes or a no from each one of you. Do you see investors as an outsider who's trying to poke in at times, or as a team member? So you have a choice, team member or as an outsider. Harvinder?
Team member, definitely.
First to you.
Team member, definitely.
Super. Niman?
It depends the type of investor, because at what stage you got the investor. See, like sometimes you get the money from the bank. So what do you say? Are they a pain? No, they're not a pain. So at what stage and which category of investments you're getting, accordingly, you will be in a position to make them as your team members, or you want to just keep them away, because there are many things to the banks which you don't tell. But there are many things you would like to tell to the angel investors, because they bring a lot of knowledge and domain expertise also. So I can say that. So we need to figure it out, those spaces, that at what space. You get a Mamaji, what do you get from them? Only a relationship, not even. And then after one month, they will ask starting, no, menu puri company de de. And if you'd ask one of the company which we did it here, the minister said, give me 50% only. So what do you do? So you're not supposed to do all these things. You need to know, if you're asking for money, you're not selling yourself. You are giving yourself to grow and acquire a knowledge. And are you willing to pay for your knowledge is a question. You pay a school fees, you pay a college fees. Why not to pay a learning to grow the company? And what if the guy comes with an experience of that? And this is which I have found, being in IIM and many institutions where we go for mentorship, that people don't want. They don't want to share. They don't want to even listen to all this storyline. They say, you're only giving me money. I want to tell you this. Recently in Jedburgh Marriott Hotel, we were just sitting next to, a friend has paid 50 lakhs to him. And this guy says, brother, I have your friend, I've paid 50 lakhs to you. Okay, you're building a mall space opposite to Marriott. He said, look, boss, you have paid in my company, not to me. Can you see that? A relationship itself breaks. We don't want that way. Neither we want the investors to lose, because investors are needed. India needs money.
Yeah.
I won't tell you this, Param sir, a few years back, 21 years back, when there was a Quark city in Chandigarh. And when I applied for a job there, they said, I'll give you only 7,000 to 10,000. But in Bangalore, I was getting 30,000. Right? And he said, no, it's na sasti hai. Employee, job sastiyan hai. Can you imagine? The same human in one country itself doesn't value the same thing. Why? That is the change I think these global investors are going to bring in. They will make everything standardized. They know how the developed nation works, and that's where the Sabi and Vijay and this platform is going to do a great justice to these youngsters and the young minds. Or else drain out will definitely happen. I will also go to Canada or some great country to set up my business and come back to India after 10 years to invest. Right? That's the whole purpose to be here.
Understood. Understood. Param, your views, outsider or a team member?
First of all, I totally agree with Niman. That's what has happened with this region, and that's what has made people to fly out to Bangalore. And now we are ready to pay 50,000 for the same 7,000 guy, and they're not ready to fly back in. And that's how the brain drain has happened from this region. I totally agree. But yes, it depends on situation to situation. If I get a complete package of a mentor and an investor, and I share a certain amount of intellect with that guy, why not? I mean, I always look at the learning curve more than money just falls in. So I always look at the learning curve as well. But if it's something like a banker, obviously, then there has to be a distance, and even the banker can't play like a team member. So it depends on situation.
Super. Thank you so much. Now that we are nearing our time, there is one question, very short one for Sabi and Rijal here, that investors abroad, especially US, and with the current scenario of the war that is going on, economies coming down, Sensex going down, all of that is happening. The markets are unpredictable. So from your perspective as investors, what do you think, how would you be able to change the Indian scenario startups? Would the interest levels be the same, or would you, not be as wanting to give, but be more conservative in your gives for the asks?
So I'll begin. For me, I don't look at location. So if I look at technology investments, in my eyes, they all live on the internet. So it doesn't matter if it's based in India, Japan, Mexico. It has no difference to me. The impact, sales, results are all the same, across the board. So it doesn't make a difference. If anything, these countries will do a good job of deterring investments, meaning they don't want outsiders to invest, as opposed to bringing on investors. So in the world of technology, it doesn't really make a difference to me.
Great. Sadi?
Yeah, definitely. So I am definitely looking at investing in India, and I've been pretty positive in the last 2-3 years. Actually, last year we created our own venture fund in India, specifically focused on startups in India. So I'm very excited about the opportunity for growth in India, because we know, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of talent available in India. The market is huge. India has the youngest work power, right? The median age is about 30 years. So think about that, the whole energy which all these youngsters are bringing. Shark Tank India just started about, I will say, just recently, and it's a every home story, right? The kids, smaller kids, they're coming and they're watching with their parents, and they're like, "Mummy, Daddy, I want to do a startup," right? That's a lot of hype, right, going on right now. It's gonna take at least 2 to 3 years before that hype settles down, and then the real things start coming out. We in India, there's a lot of spending power, which is coming up actually with the whole growth in economy in last 10, 12 years. Growing up in India, never in the parents or my uncles and aunts never thought about taking a trip to Europe, right? Would never, like, our vacation was, from Chandigarh to the Pind, right? That is your vacation. Right now, I'm hearing all the folks like, hey, I'm going to Dubai for a trip. I'm going for a trip to Italy for my vacation. So there's a lot of this spending power, which is money, which is coming in India. So there is great opportunity to capture that market, that money. And there are a lot of great startups, right, which have great ideas and they're executing. So we are definitely looking at investing in India and continue to do that. With the current situation, with the war and everything, and with everything tanking, yes, you make money both ways. When the market is going down, the stock market, the folks, they still make money, which was like an enlightenment to me 10, 12 years. Like, how can you make money when the market is going down? Like, no, you make money when the market is going down. In terms of investing, what I'm seeing from investors from here, they're a little bit shy right now, because they need money to invest, right? So their money is stuck in stock market, which is going down. Their market is stuck. Their money is stuck in other investments, which is stuck. But also on the other side, there's some money which, real estate is super hot. right? So they have that money coming in. So it's a mix right now. So some investors are on the edge, and some are definitely looking at investing.
Great. Just a short question. I can't hold it back. Do investors have a soft corner for women entrepreneur and social impact companies?
Absolutely. We need to focus on, women empowerment, and especially people of color here in United States. And that's one of my focus. I recently invested in a fund here called Elevate Capital Fund, where 82% of those companies who are getting that fund are, people of color, women, and a lot of more focused in that. So I'm a big proponent of that, and there are opportunities to bring those folks up. And as an investor, that's I think my social responsibility to support these individuals.
It's so lovely hearing your views, Richard.
Yeah, I think the women and minority investments, they've been rising slowly but surely over the past few years. And I think that trend will continue. Eventually, it will become equal. So either 50-50, or it'll show representation of the demographics. As for social impact, I think it's a pretty bad buzzword. So it has no real value. It doesn't really get anywhere far. Investment is investment. It depends on the degree of the impact, and just using the word social impact doesn't really add anything to the bottom line.
Super. Thank you all very much. Any question from the panelists here who are a startup, Harvinder and Nimin? Any question that you have? It's a great opportunity.
I have a question to you, Harpreet. Rajshri ma'am has shared so much about you, and your journey itself is very inspiring. And since being women, your storyline can also be one of the selling pitch for us too in some of our opportunities in the education space which we are into. So can you share as the way you have put across in 45 seconds? We can give you 15 seconds more also, 15 seconds more. But since you have been so generous to listen to us and being so nice.
Teaching happened to me by accident. And while teaching, I figured out that as a young teacher that, I needed to grow. I could not be a teacher, but I needed to sit on a chair and build more teachers. So this was something that I was always focusing on. And during this time, for all these 27 years, I figured out that our teachers lacked something. There was not great opportunity for everybody to train themselves, or most of the women to train themselves professionally as teachers and be professionals. Teaching comes to us, or kuch nahi karne ke liye to chal teacher ban ja, ek school ghar ke paas hai to chal teacher ban ja. But then I looked at it as very, very professional. That is what brought in We Inspire, and the journey has been since 2012. And as Harvinder says, we are always a startup. Right now, we are also changing gears as Param. We are getting into the edtech space. And hopefully, we are also looking out for investors. So I'm busy preparing all of that. But for sure, it has been a journey, Niman. And having said that, coming from a sports background to becoming a teacher and working in a corporate, and then being an army officer's wife, and then taking a plunge as a teenager's daughter into a venture as a startup then in 2012 was something that, I really took a risk. But I'm very happy taking the risk. Every second day, I think, bahut ho gaya, band kar dete. But then, I think it's the entrepreneur journey and the self-motivation, which you all entrepreneurs have been saying, the self-validation and self-motivation that is keeping us all alive, has kept me alive till date. So,
I just have a question to Sabi and Vijay too, because and I hope that you may not take it too personally because of the West space point of view, okay? And because we are in the East side. I have always come across people in the business meets that there is a trust deficit and the loss of trust or the belief factor on the so-called Indians and some of the Eastern spaces. Can you just tell me, because things are changing here very, very fast, and a lot of new industries after China episode, a lot of things are coming as investors. And I am now in smart metering supporting some company from US called Networked Devices, right? Can you tell me what needs to be done to build, uh, a confidence building measure? Not that it can happen in a day, not like Ukraine-Russia storyline, but then how can we have a confidence building measure being created in such a way that tomorrow Sabi should say that I trust Nimin because I don't know him, but I know he is in India and his work is definitely going to be guaranteed because he has got a process driven and everything is protected, right? Because I may be alive, but my concept should not die, right? And you may not be alive, but your money should not die. So it should be inherited, right? So what is the purpose of building something when your next generation doesn't even enjoy it, right? And this is both of you. I would wish that because there was a very interesting perspective of both of you of how the investments and due diligence and the thought processes are. So
No,
and we are looking forward to be in the global space. Okay, so very soon I would love to meet you, maybe in there. So
absolutely, Niman, definitely. So this is the picture which has been painted about a particular country, and and that is the perception of the people, and that perception is slowly, eventually, is being cleared out, right? Growing up in India, the picture which was painted about America was like, the dollars are on the trees, you just need to go over there and you pluck it, right? Everybody who used to come to from United States to India will come and have these nice clothes and these gold chains, and I was like, man, everybody is rich in America, right? And I need to go there, right, and figure it out. That used to be my thought process. And once I came over here, I got a cultural shock, man. It's not easy to make money. You have to work hard. There are poor people here. Actually, there's a lot more poverty here, but with education and with incoming of internet, most of things have becoming a little bit more transparent and reality is coming into the picture. Same thing with India. I think people are realizing the potential which is coming. There are a lot of CIOs and CEOs from India who are leading these big companies, right? Whether Google or Microsoft or anything. So that story is changing. I recently did a webinar on, what are the challenges in terms of legal and tech accounting challenges if somebody wants to invest from US in India. And the transparency is amazing. You spend 100 rupees and you can get all the data about that particular company on a website, right? It's very available, but people don't have that information. So I think educating folks about that will be a great step in painting a little bit more real picture of what's happening. And there is always, there are going to be always these bad apples, but as an individual or as a mature individual, you need to understand there's always good and bad, and just don't paint your experience with just one experience of bad apple with everything else. So that's my thing. Educating folks, sharing some of the data, and sharing some of the excitement which is coming up in India, and some of the investments which have been done, some of the huge successes in the last few years. I think that definitely helps to paint India in a different sense.
So I'll talk about the deficit and the trust and the culture quickly. There are not that many Indians in America. It's a pretty big fallacy. There are only a few million Indians. So, there are more Indians that probably live in specific cities in India. So the culture of trust, it actually begins from India, right? So this is where the detachment is. America is very open and friendly in that sense. So like in my perspective, trust is individual. I started at 100%. Some people have started at 0. So if someone starts at 0, you have to gain their trust. In my perspective, you have to lose my trust. So it all depends on the individual. I think that it depends on how open India wants to be to welcome people or to export people. But the reality is there aren't that many Indians in the US. So like that, that is just, American culture is very American. It's not that American Indian is very different from what we think America is. So there 350 million Americans, and there's almost no Indians. There are almost no Chinese. It's a very, very American, very different type of culture, and that's where trust begins. It starts from the culture, and then it goes outwards. So both countries have very different cultures, and that's where the deficit and their trust is.
Thank you so much.
I have one question to both Sabi and Virja. Yeah.
Yes.
So what is that one top thing that you look for in a founding team, in a founders? Just one. If you just need to list out one thing that you're looking for, apart from the due diligences and everything else, what's that one thing that you're looking for in a founder?
From my perspective, it's the urgency to win. So that's not something you can fake. It's not something you can make up. Winning is very clear. So you want to be in a leadership position. You want to be the best at what you do. You have to be an owner. So you have to have a stake in what you say. So that's what founders usually have, the ownership mentality, but they don't have the winning mentality. So they usually they don't win, and the startup fails. And I need to see that. I need to feel that.
That drive.
Yeah, I will say that. Are you passionate about where you want to go with this startup, and what has been your past experience? What you as an individual, you don't suddenly change in one day and say, I'm gonna make it so successful. What has been your past experience? Show me that, buddy. Show me what last 5 years what you have been doing. If you can tell me I'm a change person right now, I'm not. It's a little bit tough. You may be a change person overnight, but people don't change overnight.
So drive and what you've been doing every day. Thank you.
Great. I think for the first edition of this session, we've done pretty well in setting up the tone for ESI. With your permission, Dr. Datta, I would like to close this session with certain remarks. So, all right. What I have understood, yes, Niman, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to also add is that because I heard the journey of PCC from 2017 till 22, and so will the investors who have invested their sweat equity now in the so-called conclave will continue to give more time to the PCC and also create an opportunity or where the PCC is looked upon as a startup, or is it going to be looked upon as a grown-up organization? So which way do you think the PCC itself, because it's a great module itself, right? It's the way the Rajshri ma'am has presented, that itself was a less than 1 minute of pitch to convince that. So can you just see that if such kind of a social entrepreneur project is there, will the PCC be looked upon from the investment point of view, and will people feel it? Yes, let's pump money into the PCC, whether it's a sweat equity or if it's a debt in any way form, right?
So this is for the investors.
This is for the investors, yeah.
I need to look at the numbers, right? Yes, I'm definitely interested about the story. Story is just one piece of that. Great. This is a pitch. Yes, looks inspiring, but I need to go and validate and do my due diligence before I say yes or no.
From my perspective, I'm the co-chair for the New York chapter for the Punjabi Chamber. Outside of that, I'm not involved with ESI or any of the other things, but I usually don't do many startup investments to begin with. So I'm usually probably not a good fit, but my experience in the past has been involved in the space. So that's why I came aboard.
So the reason I asked you is because very soon I'll be setting up the space in Bangalore, and I'll be setting up the same PCC in Bangalore and for the southern market, and hope to invite you all and need you a lot of supports and blessings to take these South chapters very soon and forward.
Absolutely, Niman. Any day, anytime, buddy.
Yeah. Harvinder, your closing remarks, and then I would.
Again, this is a great learning session. That's what is what the journey is all about. We on the business side of it.
Vijan,
very
you joined in late.
Time for us.
Great. Vijan, your closing remarks for whatever little time that you spent with us.
Yeah, sure. So I thank all the attendees and participants. I mean, it's been fantastic. I'm glad to see. Now, I'm one of the founding members for PCC in New Jersey, so it's amazing to see how much this has grown in the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm a resource, so anybody can contact me on any of these social platforms, and I'll be available to talk.
Thank you, Sabi.
Absolutely. Great session. Thank you for sharing your stories, Harvinder, Niman, and Param earlier. Thank you, Vijar, for partnering up with me from the investment side. Thank you, Rashri, madam, and Harpreet for Harpreet, great moderation. So my last closing remark is, yes, India has a great story brewing up right now. If you want to be part of that, this is the time right now. It's also an opportunity to give back to the community where you grew up if you're a Punjabi. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. I am creating a community here in United States, North America, Canada, and America. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to provide some more insights into that.
Thank you so much, each one of you. So before we close the session, my little comments that I would want to bring out is that founders think from the heart and the investors think from the mind. And that's what we are trying to do in the ESI sessions and with ESI, a qualitative way of thinking with the quantity and make people successful, whosoever is part of the PCC. I would call out for some hashtags for all the startups, because these are words which are spoken by the inspirational startups, entrepreneurs sitting here, and also by the investors. So hashtag problem, you should have a hashtag solution. And hashtag solution, you should have hashtag data. Of course, hashtag passion, hashtag sustainability, and also the story. The fireworks should not close, and there has to be a model, either B2C or B2B. Of course, the founders do have a great way of attracting investors. Change is a constant, and you have to be smart to taste your success. The impact and the brand building, what you do is towards your target audience, and you have to create a niche with a goodwill through your IPRs. Persistence, flexibility, team building, and the like-mindedness should form your team members. I would thank PCC, Dr. Rajshri Datta, and the backend team who has been helping us to put all of this together. Have a very good evening, each one of you, a happy weekend, and look forward to many more sessions like this. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Sat Shri Akal, Sarya.